Good morning friends. As you see, 3 mugs are placed with primary colors red, green and blue. But why these are placed? These are placed here because today we are going to discuss about DOF. What is DOF? DOF is depth of field in photography. The main deciding factor in case of depth of field is aperture. Then comes the function of lens and also the light condition. So while capturing some images, to ascertain the depth of field of an image, we will first put our aperture at 2.8, then we will go to aperture 8, then to 16, so that the whole range will be in focus. So when we will put 2.8, partially the surrounding area of the focusing zone of that red mug will be in focus. Then when we will move it further to the higher number, then partially the area will increase. And also when we put aperture at 16 or if required in 22, the whole range of these particular 3 mugs which are placed at a equal distance will come into focus. So I will tell you with pictures how depth of field affects in photography. So as you have seen, all these 3 mugs are placed with bottles as place identifiers. Now with this particular camera Nikon D200 with a 80-200 lens, I am going to capture some shots at 2.8 aperture. Initially I will capture the red mug which is at the first line of this placement. Let's capture it first and see. So with the first shot at 2.8 aperture with an ISO 200 which I have fixed earlier considering the light condition. So we got a pretty gloomy shot which is surrounding that particular mug because the depth of field is less. And one thumb rule for depth of field is this: lower the number, lower the depth of field, higher the number, higher the depth of field. So always keep in mind, when your aperture numbers are increasing from 2.8 to 3.5 to 4.5 to 5.6 to 8 to 11 to 16 to 22, as the numbers are growing, as the numbers are increasing, your range of depth of field will also increase. So in this particular case, we have started with 2.8 with that particular red mug with a picture where the background has partially gone off. So the green and the blue mug is little bit visible but not up to the mark. Now we will change the aperture and we will set the aperture at f8 and see. So we set the aperture at f8 at an ISO 200 and we will click the picture, this red mug, and let's see what will come in the image, because when we capture an image, the general thumb rule is 1/3 in the front and 2/3 in the back always comes into focusing zone. So we will try that. Yes, as you see the image, here the mug has come to focus or within the focusing range when we put the aperture at f8. Now we will experiment little bit further with f16. f16 is more than f8 in number, that is after f8 it is f11 then f16, so it's 2 stops more. So we will increase the aperture 2 stop. So it's f16 at ISO 200 and our subject is that red mug following this green and blue one. So we will try to ascertain the depth of field, the range of focus which is captured through this aperture called f16. Let's see. Yes, at f16 the green mug and also the blue mug both have come into focus. Why? Because the exposure which we have set with 200 ISO at an aperture 16, though the shutter speed has gone down and the range has increased. From the red mug to the blue mug, this area of about 3 meters come into a focusing zone which is called the depth of field. 2.8 is a small number. At a small number, the depth of field is always shallow, and at f8 we got a little bit suitable focusing zone. But at f16, when the whole range has been covered, all the 3 mugs came into focus and also the background itself. Now with the green mug which is in the middle. So initially in the foreground there will be a red mug and also at the background there is a blue mug. Why I am doing so? When depth of field is determined with 1/3 and 2/3 ratio, means from the point of focus 1/3 area comes into focus and also the focus remains 2/3 in the back. So that I will try to determine with this particular picture, clicking that particular green mug in focus. So at 2.8 I have captured the image. The green mug is in focus, but due to 2.8 there is a shallow depth of field, and because of it the range though covered but not in sharp focus. Now we will try with the earlier f8. In f8 the exposure has improved and also the sharpness of the focus. Why it has improved? Because the f number has enhanced the zone of focus which we called depth of field. So depth of field is basically depth of focus. So the focus depth has increased with the increased aperture number. Now we will take another picture keeping that green mug in focus, and at aperture number 16 we are going to take the picture. We have taken a picture at aperture 16. So what has come? It has improved the focusing zone. Almost all the area which is covered with these 3 mugs are in focus. So this is the beauty of this particular DOF, the term which determines depth of field in photography.